So today actually, we want to actually talk about fixed rate mortgage. Based on actually you guys final exams actually we have a problem. It's called like incremental borrowing cost. So I look at actually this problem, and at least more than half of the students actually make a mistake. So so that's actually trigger me. Very basic. You guys actually lack of knowledge of very basic calculation of mortgage analysis. So that's why I want to actually the good thing actually I teach you guys a real estate finance class for this semester. So I want to actually we start from very basic. We start from very basic. Then actually we'll go deep and deep. Trust me. At the end of this class, you should be, if you follow my lecture notes and my lecture, you should be expert. In all this analysis, right? But trust me. At the beginning, maybe some of you maybe feel boring because this is the principal real estate class. Is that right? But at the end of today's class, you will find a lot of things it's not in actually principal real estate class. I already have like a assignment one for you. So how many actually see the assignments? Raise your hand. Okay, good. So I just know at the beginning of the class, right? I just want to show you what the assignment one look like, right? Then you tell me how many you can, how many you can answer. The problem one actually this. How can I get rid of this? Anybody knows? This part. This one?
No.
There's usually like a little arrow.
Where? Taiwan always help me. And oh.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the first question, right? So I think I assume everybody can solve this problem. This is very basic fixed rate mortgage, right? So how about second problem? Second problem actually is second problem. I think in our corporate finance there's one quiz problem related with this, right? But a lot of students make a mistake, right? The problem too. So today actually, after today's class, you should be able to solve it, right? Then actually problem 3. How many theses? Right. So you have 3 type of mortgage choice. Then you pick up one the best for you, right? So then the fourth one. You have 3 type of mortgage choice, right? With points, with discount points, right? So now my question is, which mortgage choice are not properly priced? I can tell you nobody can answer this question.
What?
I'm pretty sure. Right? Because how many knows actually there's a mortgage rate and the discount points? How many knows? Because if you are a real estate broker, you should know it, right? But this is a choice. Bank give it to you, right? But somebody needs to design it, right? How? Now actually this question, and you need to actually, because the mortgage choice with the discount points, right? Not fall from the sky. Somebody must design it, right? So now actually this guy maybe didn't do a good job. So that's why this question is much next level, right? No textbook talk about this, right? So I will in this class you should at the end of this class you should be able to, which choice is not properly designed, right? So this is actually beyond the knowledge from principal real estate class, right? Okay, so now actually the next one. For this one, you have actually the API, you should know it, right? But for the problem 6, I don't think you trust me. Nobody can answer this question. Problem 6, right? But this question exists in real world, right? So I will teach you guys, right? So There are 6 problems. Actually, some problem actually you will never find the problem in textbook. In the real estate, so we don't need a textbook, right? I will teach you because lots of questions I read by myself, right? But, okay, so this is our goal. This is actually the first assignment. So we have 6 problems, right? But now actually for real estate finance class, I maybe do a little bit different because I know actually you guys form a group. Normally you do 6 people, actually 6 problems. Everybody do 1 problem, right? So I know when I give out like a midterm exam or quiz, some actually feel trouble, right? So what I want to do actually, the solution to the assignment 1, actually next Monday I will post it after the due date you guys hand in, right? But the solution to the assignment normally is not very detailed. So what I want to do, actually, I will go over through the solution. I think most of you don't understand or feel difficult, right? I will go over through the solution to each problem, very carefully. But now actually for the solution to the assignment 1 or 2, I will actually I will not write a detailed step because I want to go over through in the class, right? So for you guys actually at least when you form group, I hope we do different compared with corporate finance, right? Everybody you need to attempt to do each problem in the assignments, right? And at least you need to know which assignment is the most difficult one, right? And can you solve it? You should be, right? If you don't know how to solve it, right? And you look at your group members' solution, you look at it does not make sense, right? Then actually, next Monday class, right? Because the good thing is I will go over through the solution. Then actually, my solution is make sense to you. You should feel it. You will be convinced, right? If not convinced, you need to talk to me, right? Especially for the problem, for this problem, right? This problem. How many see this problem? Then you have 3 choices for the mortgage, right? And which mortgage choices are not properly priced? How many see this problem? Nobody, right? That came from me. No textbook. But because people always ask you, right? Bank give you lots of choices, right? Which choice you should make? Everybody maybe answer the right question, right? But the choice. When you buy a house, you borrow the loan from the bank and you choose fixed rate mortgage. So what means fixed rate mortgage, right? The rate will be fixed for the entire term, right? So now actually, in real world, here actually the most common one is what in terms of term. How many years? 30 years, right? 30 years is the most common one. But some people actually do not want to pay too much interest, right? So they choose what? 15 years, right? So 15 years, but 50. So now actually, for 15 years term, one is 15 versus 30 years, right? The rate will be different, right? So what do you think? 15 years rate, 30 years rate, which one will be higher?
30.
Of course, right? Why is that? Anybody knows why?
Or retain the rest.
Say it again.
More period of time in which to be repaid or retain the rest.
Yes, that's true, right? So that's actually basically, in corporate finance we talk about, the interest always, when if you borrow longer time, because the lender feel actually risky, right? So that's why they will charge higher interest rate. So in real world, when you borrow, mortgage, right? Same amount of money, but you choose 15 years versus 30 years, right? You should expect the rate will be higher for 15 years for short term, Okay, so now in the fixed rate mortgage, right? The amount you borrow, that's actually I would recommend that you should borrow, always 80% loan to value ratio, right? So if you buy a house worth like $5.5 million, right? So normally you should borrow, $400,000. That's 80% of loan amount, right? 80%, That's the good thing. the good thing of 80% because you don't need to pay mortgage insurance, right? So you save money, right? Okay, so now actually the most important variable in the simplest mortgage, right? One is how much money you borrow, then the interest rate. But based on fixed rate mortgage, right, the rate will be fixed for the entire term, right? Regardless, the market rate may be changed dramatically. But in the next 10 or 15 years, the rate will definitely increase dramatically, right? But your mortgage today, if you borrow, right, the rate will be fixed for 30 years, regardless market, right? Market rate. So monthly payment is also, important. How much when you borrow, for example, $400,000, the interest is 4.5 or 4%, right? What's the monthly payment you have to pay, right? Then financial cost. Whenever you borrow money from the bank, right, there's always lots of costs associated with the origination, so you need to take this into consideration, right? So we also here actually I highlight this component because that's a genius invention. So I will talk about so we get it, right? Then actually any percentage rate. Any percentage rate is, remember this is very important. Do you know whenever you borrow the money from the bank, right, to buy a house, right, the rule require the lender disclose this information. It's called APR. So what's the APR? APR is the cost if assume you are holding the loan for entire term, right? But if you borrow 30 years, right? You borrow 30 years, actually your actual cost for the loan may be not because after 10 years you may be job relocation and you sell your house. You want to upgrade your house, to purchase a bigger house, and then you sell a little bit smaller house, right? After 10 years, then your actual cost of the loan will be different compared with APR, right? APR is the cost if we assume you live in the house for entire term and you keep the mortgage. You don't do refinancing, right? So APR there's specific meaning. It's the cost if you hold the loan for entire term. So you need to know, whenever I ask you what's the APR for this mortgage choice, right? You need your payment, mortgage payment, if entire term, you cannot prepay, right? So this is the cost, right? Okay, so now look. So now we just look at a very simple examples, right? If you want to purchase a house of $500,000 and the loan to value ratio 80%, so basically your loan amount will be $400,000, right? So now the question asks us, right? If you choose, there are two types of choices you want. One is 30 years, one is 15 years, right? So 30 years, the interest will be higher, 6%. 15 years, the interest will be lower, right? So now the question, what is the monthly payment if you choose 30 years? How many you can solve this problem? I think everybody, right? Okay, because we can use 5-piece method, right? Because the monthly payment is same. So if cash flow is same, right? So we can always use 5-piece method, right? So you solve payment, right? So can anybody tell me, when you use the 5-piece method, do you know how to calculate it? Do you know how to calculate compute this monthly payment? Do you know? You have no ideas, right? That's black box, right? So now actually, how many understand? If you can only use pen, can you solve it? Find the monthly payment for this 30 years or 15 years fixed mortgage. How many you can do it? If I just give you one pen and a piece of paper, how many think you can do it? Only 1, 2, 3, 4. So only 4, right? Only 10. Listen. Right. So now actually, because we need to answer this question, right? Right. Okay. So now actually, I want to actually use the scratch papers. So now actually, for me actually, the good thing, I want to try to use the advanced technology. Whenever I wrote, I don't want to erase. I will export and post in your course website, so you can take a look at it, right? So now actually, okay. So now actually, we cannot use the 5-piece method, right? We cannot use financial calculator. We can only use the pen, right? And one piece of paper, right? we try to find the monthly payment for 30 years or 15 years, right? So now how we can do, because because you guys are graduate students, right? You should be able to do this, right? Should be, right? No 5 keys method for time being, right? Okay, so now actually how we can do it. Look, for me actually, in order to answer this question, if I can only use pen and one piece of paper, right? So how I can actually derive the formula, right? So for me actually, I just start from very basic. What I do, this is the cash flow. At time 0, you bought a big chunk of money, right? You call present value. We bought this amount of money, right? Afterwards, every month, month 1, month 2, month 3, and month n, right? Every month you pay how much? You pay payments, right? Every month. Is this right? Same amount of money. That's the fixed rate mortgage, right? Anybody can see that? So the bank, if the monthly interest rate, the bank, n can be, if 15 years, n be what? 180. If n is 30 years, it will be 360, right? So n can be any number, basically. So now the interest rate I just denote I is the monthly interest rate, right? Monthly interest rate. Monthly interest rate. Right? So now if you look, today you borrow money, PV, right? The amount of PV from the bank. Then afterwards, right? Every month you pay the bank, PMT, right? So now if you look, because from corporate finance, time value of money, right? Today's futures payments, today's money is different. How you can compare with today's money and future money? Discount the payments, right? Discount back, right? So now what? Month 1 I discount back payments, right? 1 plus I. Is that right? That's month 1's today's value of month 1's payments, right? Then month 2's payments, 1 plus I. You discount twice, right? Then you have to do a lot of it in time, right? Then this. The payment in n months, right? You discount in time. Right? So now you can look. Now you add them together. This is your payment. This PV is the money you borrow, right? So now you can, you negotiate the bank. Eventually, this payment, you add them together, right? This portion, you in payments, right? You discount to today's value, right? You add them together. This is your payments, right? Your payments. PV is the money you borrow, right? So now if you look, if this total payment is less than PV, who will not do it? If your payments, if less than actually the money you borrow, right? The bank will not allow you to do, right? You want to do it. I want to pay less money, right? But the bank will not do it. But the total payments, right? More than the bank. Bank is level, you do it, right? But you will not do it because you're not so silly, right? Your payments will be eventually the payments, your total payments, right? In today's value, you discount it in today's value. It's exactly equal to what? Exactly equal to the money you borrow, right? So that's actually everybody is happy, right? Yeah, that's right. So now if you look at the money today, the money you borrow, right? The money you borrow today should be equal to the money you pay out in the future. Yeah, that's right. So basically payments, you discount today's payment, month 1's payments, right? You discount back today's value, right? Payments. Is that right? The money you pay out in the future, exactly same as the money you borrow today, right? That's the equality. So now it's the money you borrow today, you know, right? The bank's monthly interest rate, I, you know. payments we don't know. If there's one equation, only one unknown numbers, right? You can hire mathematician to solve it. So in theory, there is one payment, right? Anybody can see that? So now next step we need to actually solve it, right? Solve it basically we have to use middle school or high school's math, right? So okay. So this equality, how many understand? I assume everybody understand, right? So now actually we have to actually use a mathematical skill to solve it. But this mathematical skill only high school mathematics. It is most high school mathematics. Yes, right? So let's do it. Okay, so now actually look. Because we know there's one equation, right? There's one unknown numbers, right? Then we can always solve it. So now actually look. Here, now actually look what I want to do, right? Because look, I look at here, right? There's one common factor. The common factor is payments divided by 1 plus I. Every element has this common factor. So I just move it out, right? So payments divided by 1 plus I. Then multiple by the first term is what? 1, right? 1. The second term is 1 over 1 plus I. Is that right? How many understand this? I ask everybody. Basically, I'm moving the one common factor out. Right? So now we have actually good news.
That exponent is just an n. All the way to the right. In the denominator, that exponent is just an n, right?
No, n minus 1.
N minus 1. Okay.
Yes, because I 1 plus I won't move out.
Okay.
Yes. Good question. So it should be n minus 1, right? So now you can look. Because in high school, at most in high school we know, 1 plus a square plus n power n minus 1 is always equal to 1 minus a power n divided by 1 minus a, right? So that's actually, pre-college math. I forgot whether it's in middle school or high school. Can anybody tell me? It's middle school math or high school math? Middle school, right? Okay, middle school. Right. So actually we have to use, but look, here is a, here, right? A, I use this form, a actually less than 1. Right. But if a bigger than 1, right? We actually flip a power n minus 1 divided by a minus 1, right? Okay, so we have to use this formula, right? So we can solve the problem. So now to be careful, actually, I just copy payments divided by 1 plus I, multiple by, right? So now I have to use the formula. Because now a is what? 1 plus a is actually 1 over 1 plus I, right? This you can treat a. This is a. Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah.
So now it's like, I want to use the formula, right? 1. I just use 1 minus, right? A power n. So a power n is 1 plus I. Oh. Is that right? Then divide by 1 minus a. Because a is 1 over 1. Is that right? Because look, if I denote this guy, this is a, right? So I just replace it. Basically, I use the formula here, right? How many understand from this step to this step? How many you don't understand? Okay, look. Here is, look, inside, right? Inside the bucket is actually 1 plus a. If I write this term as 1 plus a squared, then plus lots of a power n minus 1, right? So now actually because we follow this formula, Because if anything, 1 plus a square plus a, lots of them, right? Plus a power n minus 1 is equal to 1 minus a power n divided by 1 minus a. Because this we know, we have this form. So we have to use this form, right? If there are n term, add them together, eventually you can just one term, become one term, right? So here, inside of the bucket, exactly the one is this term, right? So now we use this from n term, 1 plus a, right? Use the n term. Actually, this is only one term, right? So what I did here, same thing, right? N term, use the formula, and become one term, right? So now it's 1 minus a power n. Because here a is 1 over 1 plus I. So I just replace it, right? A here is 1 minus a power n is this guy, right? Then actually here, 1 minus a, because a is 1 over 1 plus I. So I just use it, right? So now we have this. Okay, now actually, okay. So now actually we simplify, right? Simplify. Look, 1 plus I, right? Denominator. It's this term and this term we can multiple, right? Because this denominator, we can multiple, right? So this will be equal to payments. So now actually we multiple this term, right? This term here. So now denominator, can anybody tell me what? Yes, 1 multiplied by 1 plus I is what? 1 plus I, right? 1 plus I multiple 1 over 1 plus I is 1, right? Because any number multiplied by the inverse of that number is 1, right? That actually is middle school, 6th grade math. Because I can teach my daughter. She is 6th grade. Any number multiplied by the inverse of that number is 1. Right, so we have this, right? Then actually here I just copy 1 minus 1 over power n. Is that right? So now the denominator what? 1 plus I minus 1 is what? Is I, right? So now we have everything. So now we move on. This will be the payments, right? Multiplied by 1 minus 1 plus I power n divided by I. Is that right? So now we know this should be equal to the money you borrow. So now we have equation, right? The money you have borrowed today should be equal to your monthly payments. This we need to solve it. Multiple by 1 minus 1 over 1 plus I power n divided by I. This I is your monthly interest rate, right? So now actually, n we know. If you borrow 15 years, n will be 180. Interest rate we know, right? Monthly interest we know, because if it's 15 years is 5%, so 5% divided by 12, right? This we all know. We don't know this, but we know how much money you borrow, right? So now can you solve it, right? So now if you look, here, right? The payments will be equal to the money you borrow multiplied by interest rate, monthly interest rate divided by 1 plus. Right? So now look, this we know how much money at the beginning, how much money you borrow, you know, right? Interest rate you know. If you choose 15 years, that's 5% divided by 12 because it's interest rate monthly, right? If you borrow 30 years mortgage, that will be 6% divided by 12, right? So now in this number you know, right? So look, this you don't know, but all this we all know, right? So now actually you can what? You can use basically you can use a pen and a piece of paper to solve it, right? Anybody? Is that right? So now you can look. So now you can look because we have two choices, right? One is 30 years. We have 30 years mortgage, right? 30 years mortgage. Interest is 6%. Is that right? And then the money you borrow is $400,000. Right? So now the payment for 30 years mortgage, right, will be, I just plug in. For 30 years case, I just use the formula, right? I just use the formula here. So it should be the money you borrow, because for this case it's the money you borrow because you buy $500,000 house and 80% loan to value ratio, the money you borrow is $400,000, right? So multiple by interest rate. If 30 years the interest is 6%, but this I is monthly interest rate, so divided by 12, right? Then 1 minus 1 divided by monthly interest rate, power n, because 30 years n should be 360. Right? So in theory you can solve it. That's how you can solve it.
Dr. Lin, can you just move the screen up a little bit so I can write what you wrote before this illustration?
How I can?
Like, just like scroll up a little.
Oh. I make a little, can I make it smaller? There are no percentage or zooming, right? So now is this better?
Yeah.
That's better, right? So you see? Because this actually, I will post this in our course website. So if you, but you know, the way actually I did, how many you follow me? I see everybody, right? So now listen, because whenever we use a 5-piece method, right? Because it's black box, because we don't know how to calculate it, right? But now I tell you, the calculate exactly what I did here. Right? 400,000, use this formula, come up with payments, right? Right. So the basic, actually how you can solve payments, right? The money you borrow, the money you pay out. Same. Right? That is the key. Right? So that's why. So now, but for you guys, actually, I will not ask you guys to use the formula. But you need to understand. The payment is calculated by just use this formula. Why we have this formula? Because the money that you borrow from the bank is exactly equal to the same as you pay out. Based on corporate finance time value of money. Right? Is that right? That's the key. Yeah, you understand this, right? Then you can always use 5-piece method. From now on, if you understand this, right, 5-piece method, that's good enough. Right? Because today, like for this, now actually look, because lots of you actually maybe, because you are a real estate broker, you sometimes you recommend some loan to others, and maybe your client asks you, if I borrow this amount of money, interest rate 4.5, and then 30 years, what's the monthly payment? So you use 5-piece method. You already know, right? But take this class. You need to actually, you should be able, you should need to know all the detail, not just black box, right? That's what I want to teach you. So it is the end of this class, right? December 12th is the last day of class, right? I can tell you, if you follow me exactly what I do, you have become expert on both primary mortgage market and secondary mortgage market, because I want to teach you guys actually very detailed. Trust me. At the end of the semester, you will become just all the problem related with this, right? You can solve it, right? Okay, so any questions? Now we will use all 5-piece method, but we exactly know how 5-piece method works, right? That's the formula here. Right. Okay. So the good thing actually, because for this class I will use sketch paper, but step by step. Step by step, right? So the good thing actually I can always do, sometimes you just, you may even don't need to watch my video. Just look at the scratch paper, you understand everything, right? So I will try to, because Taiwan teaching me how to actually export to PDF file, right? So I can save, whenever I done it, I will save it, export PDF file, then actually I will upload to our course website, right? Okay, so now look. What I did actually, in the scratch paper, right, exactly is here, The money that you borrow, and you have 360 or maybe in payments, right? So now actually how you can solve the payment, because they're equal. The money you pay out, the money you borrow should be the same, right? So that's the one equation, one unknown numbers, right? Then we use actually middle school's math, some of the power theory, right? From n term, some of them, right? N term. We can calculate it using one term, right? So that's how it, right? Okay, then, but then from after you understand this, right? We need to take advantage of technology, right? We always use 5 keys method. Because as I said in corporate finance, right? If we have even cash flow, because the good thing is for traditional fixed rate mortgage, right? The payments are always the same. Month 1 until month 360 or until month 180. Every month same amount, right? In same amount, same cash flow, right? We can always solve using 5 keys method. Anybody know, right? 5 keys method is very powerful. Any question, if your cash flow is evenly, right? Then you can always use 5 keys method. That's in corporate finance we learn from, right? Okay, so now look. Because 5 keys method, if you use this type of financial calculator, right? You look at the third row in interest rate, payment, penalty value. That's exactly the layout, right? Exactly layout.
Check. Where are you from? Okay.
Okay, look, in the third row for this type of financial calculator, right? You will see NIPV payment future value, right? Then actually look, the question asks us what is the payments, what? We need to solve the payments, right? What is the monthly payment if we borrow 30 years, right? So now what you should do, you just key all other 4, right? So N, if you borrow 30 years, N will be what? 360, right? Interest rate is monthly interest rate. So monthly interest rate, is 6%, right? So don't use 6%, don't use 0.06. Because in the setting, right? Financial calculator interest rate always, is actually percent, right? So you just put the 6. 6 divided by 12. So you import the monthly interest rate, right? Present value always corresponding to the money you borrowed today. How much? $400,000, right? Even $400,000. Then future value, that you pay off everything, right? So you put 0. Because look, as I said, right? If you look at the cash flow, if you borrow 30 years, right, this cash flow will be not 4 months, because I cannot. If you borrow 30 years, right, 12 should be 360, right? Because the payments are all the same, right? So the future value, because future value is also the same payments, right? What's left over of the payments? 0. So future value should be put 0, right? So now you can look. For 30 years, right, you key all other 4, and then you calculate the payments, right? Use calculator, you do.
No, I want to see what you do. I gotta make it.
Okay, so now actually look. What I do actually look. Yes, 360.
Okay.
360. And, right? Then interest rate 6 divided by 12. Interest, right? PV is $400,000. PV. Payment you need to calculate. Future value you just put 0. Then you compute payment. You got 2,000. Yes. So you will upload in our course website.
No.
So right. So we got it right. I suppose everybody can do it, right? So for 15 years. For 15 years, it's easy, right? 15 years, you just change n, because 15 years is 180 months, right? N change it to 360, change 360 to 180. Interest rate no change, right? It's 5%. So 5 divided by 12, right? All others will be the same, right? So you can compute, you got $3,163.17, right? So any question? No questions, right? This is actually very basic, right? So now from now on, whenever I ask you what's the monthly payments, right? You always have to use the 5 keys method. Don't use the formula, right? But you understand, you know, inside the black box how to compute the monthly payments, right? That's actually what I did in the scratch pages, right? Okay, so now we move on. The next question we need to actually go, you know, that's amortization table, right? Unfortunately, I didn't go in corporate finance, right? I thought that you guys do very good in amortization table, but no, you didn't do good job. So that's why I have to do here step by step because it's very important, right? So this is actually kind of like amortization table question. So I will go look. A house with a house, same thing, right? You borrow $400,000 from the bank, then you choose 30 years fixed rate mortgage, right, with interest at 6%. So we, in the previous examples, we know, right, every month you pay $2,398.20, right? We use 5 keys method, we use formula, we come up with these numbers, right? So now, every month you pay same amount of money, every month, right? But now the next question we need to go further, right? How much you pay for the principal and how much you pay for the interest rate in each month? Month 1, month 2, month 3, month 355, month 360. Because every month you pay same amount money. But this payments, right, same amount payments. Some you pay for interest, some you pay principal. But now we need to know, right? Each month, what the interest portion is, right? So can anyone tell me, for first month, what do you pay? Bigger chunk of money pay what? Interest. Very end of the mortgage term, right? You very tiny amount you pay what? Principal. No. Very tiny of a portion you pay interest. So interest is decline, right? Yes. Because at the beginning you borrow $400,000, but every month you pay principal. So the money you borrow from the bank you shrink. Then your interest will shrink too, right? So if evaluate, right, I can tell you, look, every month you pay same amount of money. Every month you pay same $2,398.20. Every month you pay same amount, right, money, right? But this is interest portion. This is principal portion. So time goes by, you know, the interest portion shrinks until, you know, 0. Almost 0. Is that right? Bigger chunk of money pay what? Time goes by, the bigger chunk of money pay what? Pay principal. Right? That makes sense, right? But every month you pay same amount, right? But the portion, the composition of the interest portion and the principal different, right? At the beginning you pay bigger chunk of money, pay principal, pay interest. At the very end of the long term, right? You pay bigger chunk of money, pay principal, right? So now the next question actually is that's legit questions, right? So now we need to find out. We need to find out each month, right? So now what do we do? So I will use actually amortization table, right? So I have to write here amortization table. Can I make this a little bit smaller? Because then actually you can see actually a little more. Let me 100 maybe. Can I change the number? No? How do you know? How I change it like because they choose 75, but I want to choose 90. Can I do it? 75. Can you see it? 75. Yeah. Can you see it? Okay, so let's use. I cannot use 90. 7 maybe too small, right? Can you see it? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, so now look. For amortization table, because you guys not good at the amortization table, so now I want to go over it's quite easy. So look, amortization table, right? Look, months. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, lots, right? Then here is the beginning balance. Beginning balance. Beginning balance. Then actually this is the mortgage payments. Then this is the interest. Because the question asks us, right? Every month we pay, we know, $2,398.20, right? But what's the portion? You pay interest, what's the portion? For principal, we don't know, right? Then adding balance. Right? So now actually each month we need to calculate, right? So first month, can anyone tell me what's the beginning balance for the first month? Month 1.
400,000.
400, because the money you borrow is $400,000, right? The money you borrow is $400,000. So it's the beginning balance of the first month is $400,000, right? Then the payments, because we use 5 key methods to solve it. $2,398.20, right? Is that right? Then can you tell me how you compute the interest? Interest is easy, right? Listen, the money you borrow beginning, multiplied by monthly interest, because this is monthly, right? This number multiplied by your monthly interest rate.
Yeah.
This is your interest, right? So now $400,000 multiplied by 6% divided by 12. Half percent. What's that? 2,000. Because interest rate is 0.5%. Monthly interest rate is 0.5%, right? Interest rate. Interest rate is 0.5%. Why is 0.5%? Is because it's 6 divided by 12, right? Because annual interest rate is 6%. So monthly interest will be 6 divided by 12 is 0.5%, right? So now if you look at this number, interest multiplied by beginning balance, right? You got the interest rate. You got the interest payment, right? So now listen. From beginning balance multiplied by monthly interest rate, you got the interest payment, right? But your total payment is $2,398.20. So the difference is what? Is your principal payments, right? So this guy minus this guy is equal to principal. Because when your monthly payment either go to interest or go to principal, right? So now what's the principal payments? Is $398. $398.20, right? Okay, so now it's the beginning balance minus month 1's principal payments. Become what? Ending balance. Because look, in month 1, this is your principal payments, right? So the difference between beginning balance and the principal payments, right, will become your ending balance, right? So this will be 399. 602 80. Oh no.
No, 601.
601. $601. 80, right? Is that right? So now check. The beginning balance of month 2 is the ending balance of month 1. So I just copy the number here, right? I copy the number here. I put here, right? 3996018. Right? So now I shall repeat again. Same procedures, right? Because the payments, we know same numbers. Every month your payments the same, right? So now I just repeat again. Beginning balance multiplied by interest rate. You got the interest payments, right? After you got the interest payments, the difference between your monthly payments and interest payment is your principal portion. If we know the second month's principal portion, right? The difference between this and this, you got any balance, right? So I just copy the numbers. So now this will be 1998.1. This will be 4. Can anybody tell me what's the principal portion? Let me,
419.
419. Is that right? Okay. Then actually, what's the ending balance? 399. 20. Okay, 399,601.8 minus 400.19. Okay, 399,201. 61. Is that right? Okay, now I just keep doing.
It's not 70 cents?
Which one?
The ending balance minus the $400.10.
Beginning balance, right, minus the principal, because it's ending balance. Did I do right?
Yeah.
So now I just keep doing.
Sorry.
Okay, then I keep doing, right? Because the question asks us what is, the question asks us is what is the 350 months, right? So if you only have the pen and scratch paper, right? Maybe you have to spend a whole day, and you can get the 355 months, right? But the Excel, you just only 1 second, not 1 second, 10 seconds you can solve it, right? Yeah, I already posting our course website. Yes, 1 second, maybe 5 seconds you can solve, right? Right. So now actually everybody understand, right? For the amortization table, you should be, because based on you guys work, because in the amortization table actually for the incremental borrowing cost, a lot of students use the amortization table, but the results not right. And for corporate finance final exam, actually our question 4. Real world examples, real estate, I ask you guys to compute that, because you have 3 financing choice, 75%, right? So you have to do, all the mortgage payments or other things, right? But I because very few students did the number correctly. Nobody did exactly right. So I look at it, right? Because, you guys computed the monthly payments or interest portion. Nobody did it right. Right, so that's why. That's why, final exam, nobody got the 100. Nobody 100.
Oh, you have the
Yeah.
best year.
So that's why I want to actually go over through this, right? But you have enough time actually, because this actually is this should be in principle of real estate class. But I want to actually, because it's important. So that's why, Okay. So as I said, right? If you use Excel, if you use, you just keep going until 355 months, right? Then how much? You may have to spend a whole day. But if in Excel, right? Maybe if you do correctly, maybe only 5 seconds you can solve it, right? But now actually we can use 5. We can use actually financial calculator, right? So now for this question, right? Let's do actually use financial calculator. Financial calculator 355 months, right? If I ask you if you use financial calculator, if somebody very familiar with actually financial calculator, like 10 seconds you can solve it. Right? So how we can do it? Everybody knows actually we just did, right? Everybody knows actually how you compute the monthly payment.
Yeah.
Then actually in order to know which month, right, how much you pay principal, how much you pay interest, right, you have to use the second amortization key. Second amortization key, right? So now actually let's actually if you have financial calculator, listen, for this class, right, you have to use financial calculator. Really. For the quiz, right? For the quiz, there are 50 multiple choice. If you use amortization table, right? You may run out of time because there are lots of calculations. So you have to be very familiar with actually 5 keys math. Yes.
For the quiz, you said you were giving us 5 hours, right?
I'm still debating.
I thought the 5 hours was
4 to 5 hours.
45 minutes?
okay.
45 hours.
Oh, I heard 45 more.
45 hours?
Also, I'm thinking of actually giving you more multiple choice.
No.
Instead of 50, I give you maybe a little more. Because I have too many questions. Or I maybe give you 50, right? But all hard questions. Because now actually I have actually more than like 100 multiple choice. I just pick up the hard one.
If you need help, I'll help you choose the question.
But you'll be fine. Because listen, for this, for real estate finance class, right? Please, actually, because I assume everybody already used to, because the corporate finance you transition. But now actually, you get ready, right? So for me, actually, I just want to try to give you actually, kind of like if we go more quickly, right? I can teach you guys more. I want to actually. I want to see actually how actually you guys actually, because I want to make sure everybody understand. Then actually I give you more material, right? But a lot of calculation. I can tell you actually for real estate finance class, right? If you really good, this is much more challenging than actually corporate finance. Yeah, corporate finance is easy. It's very easy. Okay, so now actually we use the financial calculator, right? So next we use 5 in order to compute how much you pay principal, how much you pay interest for any month, right? First step we need to calculate what is the monthly payment for this mortgage. So now if you have financial, please from today, if you didn't bring like a financial calculator, next meeting you should bring it. Because look, you do with me, right? So you don't need actually. For me actually, when I sit in the class, right, I'm very busy because I follow with the professor, right. Then after the class, I don't want to actually, I don't want to do it. So try to use the time in classroom, right. For me actually, when I study, I always one of the best students. Why? My experience, right? Because during the class, during the lecture, I understand everything. So I never actually need to go over. So when there's the exam, I don't need to spend time. So everybody think, why you? I never see you study very hard, right? But why you always, have good grades, right? That's the. Another thing is I'm very careless guy. So I always use different approach. Because I do things very quickly, right? So I will use always two approach. So when during the exam, right, I always use different approach because. I know the professor gave us the question, right? I can always use two approach. I still have lots of time. So if two approach, right, reach different results, I know I make a mistake, right? So at the end of the class, right? At the end of the examination, I always confident. My score is always 95 or 100. Because why? Because I double check all my results, right? Even the professor says, "Oh, you didn't get the 100, right?" So I will dispute with him because I always do two different approaches and reach the same results. How I can make a mistake, right? So most times it's the professor make a mistake when I was student, right? So that is the trick. So listen, during the class lecture time, like please use, so you don't need to, you save lots of time, right? I know you guys busy. So okay, let's what I did, right? In order to compute it. What's the interest portion? What is the principal portion, right? For each month. So now I want to test the 2 months. Month 1 and month 2. Because month 1, month 2 we all just did, right? If month 1, month 2, your number is exactly the same as here, right? Then you go 355 months. The number must be right? So how I did it, right? The first step, you computed the monthly payment. First step, right? So how I did? Because we know, use 5 keys math to compute the monthly payments for this mortgage, right? So we know initially be 360 months because this is 30 years mortgage. Interest is 6%. So divided by 12, we convert the monthly payments, right? Monthly interest rate. So 360 months to end, 6 divided by 12, input interest. Then present value will be how much money you borrow. So that's $400,000, right? Then future value will be 0. Then you compute the payments, right? So I computed $2,398.20, right? Then, second step, I want to compute month 1, month 2. What's the interest portion? What's the principal portion? And what is the earning balance, right? I want to check these 3 numbers, right? So now it's like, in order to compute the interest portion or principal portion, you always have to use the second amortization key. So now, look, second amortization key after you compute the monthly payments, right? So now actually I see P1 is 96, not right. So I change the P1 to 1, because I want to compute the month 1, right? Then I press arrow down key, right? Then P2, 1. I set 1. Then I arrow, okay, so, I said, good ideas, yes, I need to write a step, right? I just do once. Next time, first time, now I do once, right? Then eventually we'll go very quickly. So step 1, in order to our goal is to compute the interest portion amongst principal portion and the earning balance for each month.